Okay, so now we're going to be looking at cranial nerves. And first, this goes through and says, what is a cranial nerve? It's really important to know they're actually part of the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is just brain and spinal cord. But we're going to have nerves, which are going to communicate with the periphery, but they're going to do it in two different ways. Spinal cords go in and out of the spinal cord, but cranial nerves instead go directly in and out of the brain. There are 12 pairs, okay, so I guess you could say 24 total, but it's really 12 pairs, and each pair has the same function. It just goes to an opposite side of the body. These are the things you need to know about them. You need to know the name of it. It also has a Roman numeral, and if you need a refresher on Roman numerals, here's a link for that. You need to know if it sends sensory information, motor commands, or both. And then you need to know what the specific function is. For those first 4 ones, your notes packets help you do that. Here's the cranial nerve number. We'll go through and put the name, whether it's motor, sensory, or both, and the functions. Okay. Then this part on where the nerve signal originates and ends, that means, you know, is it coming into or leaving what part of the brain? And so the part that will help you with that is this activity that has origin or destination. And so that will help you know where the signal is either originating or ending, what part of the brain. So let's just go through this. You can look along. There are figures in your book that go through these cranial nerves. Let's just go ahead and start entering some of this information. First, though, I think what I'd like to do is show you this thing called a mnemonic. And what it is it's a little saying that can help you remember. So this one right here, some say marry money, but my brother says bad boys marry money. Well, if we have S stands for sensory, and M stands for motor function, and B stands for both sensory and motor, if we go through these nerves in order, we can say, well, and it asks motor, sensory, both. Well, we can say some, which is sensory, say, marry, money, but my brother says bad boys marry money. So what this means is the first cranial nerve, number 1, is sensory, the second is sensory only, third is motor only, fourth is motor only. We get down to the fifth, it has both motor and sensory functions. So this is a little saying that can help you remember that. There's also another one for remembering the names of the cranial nerves in order from 1 to 12. Okay, and what's underlined is what helps you be able to do that. Okay, so let's go through and put some of this information in. The first one is called the olfactory nerve, cranial nerve number 1. Its function, well, it's olfactory, so smell. Pretty easy, and it's just a sensory function, so it's only smell. There's no motor movement going on. For number 2, we're going to have optic. It is only sensory as well, and optic, you can think optical, it is vision. Number 3 is the oculomotor, and you can kind of break apart the name. Oculo meaning eye, motor, movement. We know it just has a motor function. And so this is going to control most of the voluntary eye muscles. Okay, not all of them. There's 6 eye muscles. It's going to control 4 of them. The next one is the trochlear. It has only a motor function. Okay, and this controls 1 eye muscle. We'll learn later that the one it controls is called the superior oblique. Okay, the next one, which is called trigeminal, it's going to have both motor and sensory functions. So if we look first at the sensory functions, It receives sensations from the face, teeth, and tongue. If we look at motor, it's going to be involved, controls the muscles of primarily chewing. Okay, we call that mastication. It's another word for chewing. Okay. We go down and we have number 6, and number 6 is going to be the abducens nerve. It is only a motor function, so it controls one eye muscle. We'll learn later that it controls the lateral rectus, is the name of the muscle. We've got the facial nerve. Okay, its sensory function is going to be taste for a portion of the tongue, and its motor function is going to be controlling the muscles of facial expression, tear production. So there's a gland called the lacrimal gland that controls the production of tears. So tear production, and it also controls saliva production from not all of the salivary glands, but some of them. Okay. The next nerve that we're going to have is called the vestibulocochlear. It has only sensory, and so hearing, if you've ever heard of a cochlear implant, that may help you remember hearing. And also this thing called equilibrium. I like to think of equilibrium as, you know that you're moving and that you're moving relative to space. So it's a sensation coming in that tells you, hey, I'm moving, and here's gravity, so this is how I'm moving. Cranial nerve number 9 is going to be the glossopharyngeal. And anytime you see this thing glosso, gloss is going to have to do with the tongue. It has both sensory and motor. So if we think about sensory, then this is going to be taste from a portion of a tongue. And it's also going to sense blood composition, the chemicals in the blood. Okay. Its motor function, if you think about tongue, well, it's going to be involved in swallowing. Okay. And it's also going to help produce saliva from some of the other salivary glands that the facial nerve doesn't connect to. Cranial nerve number 10 is going to be the vagus nerve. Okay, this has both sensory and motor. Vagus means wanderer, and this is the nerve that actually comes out of your brain, but it goes deep down into your thoracic cavity and is going to connect with a lot of structures there. So its sensory function is going to be to sense stimuli from the throat, the external ears, the diaphragm, and internal organs. Okay, so if you've got some weird distension, twisting, pressure deep inside, that's going to be the vagus nerve. And then its motor function is going to be swallowing. It's important in swallowing and controlling some of the motor functions of the internal organs. And we'll get a bit more into this in chapter 15 and 16. I just want to make a note of the vagus is that it is 75% of all parasympathetic control. We'll talk again a little bit more about that in a later chapter, but I want to mention it here so that it's something that you can start thinking about. All right, the last two nerves, we've got the accessory, okay, and so it is only a motor, so it also is involved in muscles of swallowing and then it helps control some of the head and shoulder muscles. And then finally, cranial nerve number 12. This is the hypoglossal nerve. We have this thing gloss in it, so you know it's going to have to do with the tongue. And this is going to control the majority of the tongue muscles. Okay, and so that's going to be involved in tongue movement. Okay, so those are the 12 cranial nerves. Again, know the cranial nerve number, know the name, know whether it's motor, sensory, or both, and then know all of these specific functions for each nerve.